A post I saw said the market is run off of greed and fear. And that's not true. The retail trading market is run off of greed and fear, which is why most retail traders lose. The people who actually move the stock market, those are billion-dollar corporations. The reason you lose as a new trader is because your mindset of fear and greed doesn't fit within that framework. And so you lose money. And the way you get over that and the way you start making money is getting rid of, or at least managing properly, the greed and fear. Hey everyone, welcome to the Anarchy Podcast. 99% of traders will never make consistent profits. So why listen to the 99% of advice? On this show, we're going to challenge some of the most hallowed and repeated tenets of trading, and in doing so, set you up to succeed where others fail. Spoiler alert, we don't have a secret strategy or magic wand that will let you skip out on the hard work of learning the markets, but we can debunk viewpoints that are holding you back. If that sounds good to you, come join us.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Anarchy Podcast. This week, I was talking to a few people about trading strategies, and as beginners, or let's be honest, even as not so beginners, you're probably inundated when you go on Facebook and Twitter with someone promising you riches if you just follow one specific strategy, which got me thinking, why are there so many strategies? So today, we're going to talk about why there are so many strategies, does strategy really matter, and how can you pick the right strategy for you? Levi, what's going on?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Had a couple. I've had a bad start to the month trading. I had a really great January and February, and March has not been not been treating me well so far. So hopefully it's just the first 5 days. But yeah, other than that, doing great. The whole strategy thing. This is. If you're new to trading, and maybe even if you're not, in fact, this is even if you're not, there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what strategy is in day trading and what ends up making you money. And I think that's probably a good place to start, because the reason there's so many people think that having the right strategy is what makes you money. This is demonstrably not true. And the reason it's not true, and you can just look around you, is that there are successful traders trading a million different types of strategies. In fact, as many day traders there are, that's how many strategies there are. Every successful day trader has slightly different strategy, a slightly different way to deal with the market, slightly different rules. So there's a million and one ways to make money. And if you're a beginner, if you're not profitable yet, or if you're looking for your own strategy and you're trying to find out what that is, that should ring alarm bells, I think, especially when people start promising you the perfect strategy, quote unquote. That should ring an alarm bells, because if there's a million ways to make money, then there's not one magic answer, right? Like it's not there's no magic correct answer to the whole strategy question. So I think that's probably a good place to start from.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for people to realize. I mean, it's a good thing to realize right from the get-go that I think you nailed it. For every person trader out there, there's that many strategy, because no one has the exact same strategy. No one has the exact same criteria, because it's very individualized. And let's be honest, there are people, okay, if you have the exact same strategy, that means it's a computer, right? Now you're just trading an algorithm. That is the same strategy. But if you are trading with any little bit of intrinsic learning, as we've discussed, and learning based off of feel, then yeah, your strategy is going to be different than the guy next to you. Like Levi and I actually can attest to this, right, Levi? Because we used to trade together, and we learned trading together.
Mhm.
We learned together, we traded together quite a bit. And even with all of that, we still trade. You put you and me in front of the same computer trading essentially the same strategy, and we still will take completely different trades at different times.
Yeah, our strategies definitely diverged. And actually I want to do a full episode on this. Maybe we can do this next time. an episode on trading with people and why, if and why that's a bad idea. Um, because it is true, and I think this is maybe the reason is that like you can trade with, and we learned from the same person. We both kind of very similar strategies, but we both kind of slightly diverge in small little ways, and it ends up taking us in completely different directions. We take different trades, which is again pretty wild, especially if you're a beginner and you're going, well, wait a second, you're trading the same strategy. And this is, I think, where you want to come to the next point, which is that the only, and you already briefly mentioned this, but the only strategies that are going to be helpful in the long run are strategies that give you like the thing in between your ears that give you the ability to interpret the market in some way. And and something that I think a lot of people get wrong in trading, especially early on, but even years and years, which is why a lot of people aren't profitable for decades, is that they take their brain out of the equation and their strategy ends up just being essentially algorithmic.
Yeah. So you mentioned that if your trading can be boiled down, and we've mentioned this, if we've mentioned it once, we've mentioned it 100 times on the podcast. If your trading can be boiled down to if this then equals this, then essentially if it can be replaced by a computer, then it's not it's just an algorithm. You're removing your brain and you're not going to be successful, right? Because it takes out the most powerful component or the most powerful tool you have, which, as Levi mentioned, is the thing between your ears. At least most people have it these days. Well, it's debatable. Maybe most people don't, but so hopefully you do, because that's why you're listening to this podcast. And yeah, that's going to be really powerful. Now, let's be honest. We talk about all this. Does it matter which strategy you use? Absolutely not. Case in point, Flat Earth Trading Society, or is it the Flat Earth Society of Trading? Anyway, you can Google it. So they have a YouTube channel. Someone drew my attention to this past week, and what they do is they literally just they use Scrabble tiles. They use astrology. They use dartboards to just pick stocks, flip a coin to whether they take it long or short, and so everything's literally completely random, but then they simply manage their trades according to their set rules, right? So they have set rules for stop loss, risk, take profits, etc. And they actually literally make money doing that, because and their whole point with that, I'm not recommending that, by the way, because there's a lot of issues with that, right? But the point is they're making the very, very good point that strategy doesn't matter, right? Because it's not really about the strategy at the end of the day. It's about your risk management, following your rules, and not in general. Let's put it simply, not being stupid.
Yeah, a lot of losing money comes down to being stupid. I can attest to that,
Yeah, me
especially in the
too.
last couple of days.
Yeah,
I've lost
don't
some
ask me
stupid
about
stuff.
yesterday.
We both had a rough start to the month. So anyway, so okay, so we've talked about strategy isn't what ends up making you money. It's going to be your brain. It's going to be resisting the. Well, we've gone back to this. We've gone to this well a few times, but especially let's for some newer listeners, like you come into trading with an edge as a beginner. Now it's a reverse edge. Like it's you come into the market non-random. You come into day trading losing money. That should blow your mind. Okay? You come into the market losing money. You have an edge. You'd think that if you come into the market, you have no idea what you're doing and you start taking trades, you just break even. You don't. And any new trader can attest to this. You start losing money. Why is that? The reason that is the case, and I actually I made this point on Twitter a couple of days ago, is that the market is run not off of I said this in response to a post I saw that said the market is run off of greed and fear, and that's not true. like the retail trading market is run off of greed and fear, which is why most retail traders lose. The market, the stock market is not based off of greed and fear. The people who actually move the stock market, those are billion-dollar corporations. They don't take trades based off of greed and fear. They take trades based off of like really deep understanding and fundamentals and value propositions. The reason you lose as a new trader is because your mindset of fear and greed doesn't fit within that framework. And so you lose money, right? And the way you get over that and the way you start making money is getting rid of, or at least managing properly, the greed and fear. Um, and the only thing strategy does is it allows you to focus in on a specific aspect of the market that you want to trade. So for instance, my strategy that I typically trade is breakouts. That's all. Just price breaks through support and resistance, and I choose whether or not to take it at that point. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. All that strategy does is just narrow down my focus onto breakouts. And so I've trained my brain to be very good at recognizing fake breakouts, recognizing when it's about to just keep going, whether it's going to reverse. That's where you give your brain time to learn that. And that's the fundamental reason why a lot of these people promising that if you just follow their strategy, you're going to be successful in 3 months are just full of crap, right? Because what makes you successful is not a magic strategy. It's training your brain to have an edge and then learning to manage the greed and fear so that you can actually apply that edge. Right?
Well, yeah, and I think you nailed that. The fact is, why are there so many strategies? Well, guess what, guys? Strategies are easy to sell. So
Yeah.
if you make a magic strategy, guess what? Every beginner out there, I've never met a beginner. Hopefully, we've helped some people on here maybe avoid this mistake. But 99.9% of beginners out there will have, we've all done it. Levi and I have done it. It jumped from one strategy to the other to try this strategy to maybe buying, this indicator, this indicator. Guess what? People do it because it's easy to make a bunch of money off of people who don't know better. That's the
Yeah.
only right. Like it's individual, as we mentioned, but why is there so many strategies out there? Because it's easy to sell. So you come up with a new strategy that you can then sell to people, promising a 99% win rate if you follow these, blah, blah, blah. And you make a bunch of money off people who don't know better. That's really the simple answer of why.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really easy. You can make them look really good. You can get back testing data for the last 2 years and have it have a crazy win rate. We've talked about back testing data before and why it's all can be complete garbage. You can reverse engineer strategies and indicators to work and work really well. And so it's really easy to trick beginners. And like you said, it's much easier to sell a strategy than sell kind of a complete package, right? Because we've talked about kind of how if you're going to get a mentor, make sure they're like an instrument teacher rather than a snake oil salesman, right? It's much easier to go, hey, I have a technique to play the guitar, and if you just take my technique, you'll be a pro guitar player in 3 months. That's easier to sell than, hey, I don't have any magic information for you as a guitar teacher, but as a guitar teacher, I can guide you. I can point you in areas where you need help. I can say, I can give you strategies and techniques to attack weaknesses. I can keep you accountable, yada, yada, yada. All the great things that come with a good guitar teacher. It's much easier to sell a thing, right? Sell some magic, beans that are going to make them really, really good. And because it's kind of counterintuitive, it is a little bit counterintuitive that there's no one set strategy to make money on the market. And because of that kind of counterintuitive thing, you end up having a bunch of strategies that pop up and promise success when the strategy isn't what is going to end up giving you success in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that is going to give you success in the long run is putting in, as we've said, the blood, sweat, and tears, picking one strategy whatever it may be, as this whole podcast has shown, it doesn't matter what it is. Pick a strategy. It can even be bogus strategies or strategies that, as I said, as we can mention, ICT or anything, SMC or support and resistance or supply and demand, doesn't matter. Breakouts, reversals, trend following, they all work. Pick one that you like, and then just put in the blood, sweat, and tears. And 3 years down the road, voila, if you follow your rules and you're consistent, you'll be making money. It's honestly that simple. But you've got to put in the time and the patience to learn your strategy, develop into your unique strategy, and you will be successful.